Okay, hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you know, I'm Stephanie. Today we are doing my March wrap-up, which is just kind of insane because I feel like while the year doesn't feel like it's zooming by, it does feel like I just did my February wrap-up. I just did this. Like, what? Like, it's insane, but it is what it is. So here I am with a bunch of books that I have to pretty much tell you about because I read a lot this month. At the same time, I have two books I have yet left to mention from the previous month, because if you guys follow me, you know that I read a lot. So a lot of times when I do film these videos, I still end up reading like one or two more books after I post this, because the month is not necessarily over, if that makes sense. But if you guys are interested in seeing my wrap up for March, obviously continue to watch. Remember to like this video, comment down below, and subscribe for more videos. And let's get to it. I have a lot of books, so we're gonna immediately get into this because I don't want to make this video too long. So we're gonna start with two books I ended up reading in February at the end after I filmed my video. So we have To Lose You, which this is by N. Isabel Blanco. If you saw my last wrap up, you know I was raving about, because it's a trilogy, and I was raving so much about book 1 and book 2, and I think I was in the middle of book 3 if I'm correct, but either way I was already rating the whole trilogy as a 5-star, and yes, it was a 5-star. This book is one of my favorites of the year. I think I've given already a 5-star before this. I think at this point I probably have like 3 5-star books, but if you really think about it, for the amount of books I always read, it's nothing. But this one was amazing. Pretty much kind of like Dad's best friend. It's more like Dad's business partner, and it's so good. It's so juicy. It's like filled of drama, and the thing I loved about it is that this guy was a reformed F-boy, but then he's obviously kind of been knowing her for a while, but then all of a sudden it's all about her, and he's like changing all his ways. But the way he used to live his life as a F-boy is really coming to bite him in the butt, and he's just determined not to lose her because of his past. And I loved it. It was truly amazing. The trilogy is worth it. Then we move on to Dirty Monsters by Katie Ray and Zoe Drake. This is also on the forbidden taboo side, so technically it's like step or adopted step siblings, if you will. It's also like doctor patient. So we have our heroine in here, and she has a lot of issues. She has like a sex addiction, she has alcohol addiction. I think she even overdoses at this rehab center, and he's there. The thing is, they don't recognize each other. He eventually figures it out because he sees her file, and he's just like, oh my god, is this you? And then next thing you know, they kind of start something, and they figure out who they are to each other. Unfortunately, it wasn't my favorite. I think I ended up giving it 3 stars because it could have been really good. For my February reads, we're gonna move on into March. Now during March, I read a lot of books. If you guys saw, I posted like a March TBR. I read majority of them, but I didn't read a couple of them, and I'll explain why right now. In the Dark Verse series by Jagger Cole, which is Deviant Hearts and Vicious Hearts. Now I read both of these, and I'm like so upset because I had heard such amazing things, and unfortunately to me they were not amazing. 3 stars, 3.5, and it was just mainly because I expected a lot more mafia from book 1, and I didn't really care for the couple. Like, I liked the guy, the girl was just like okay. It's an enemies to lovers arranged marriage, and I just didn't really care like for it. I also thought like they kept like the plot line of this book. Yes, I guess it's good, but I didn't care about it. Like, they made it about this psychopath instead of the actual mafia, and that's something I didn't like. And I really liked Cillian. Like, Cillian to me was hot. However, I still ended up giving this book 3 stars, and that tells you a lot because my camera literally died on me, so I'm not sure what the last thing I said was. Kind of weird because you would think, since I like the guy here a lot more, it would have been a higher rating than book 1, but it wasn't the case because of the hero. I really disliked the heroine in here. And here's the thing, I was kind of annoyed over the same plot. It was literally like the same plot, and like the same thing was happening. Focus once again on that psychopath. Like, it's like the story continued. And here's the thing, Cillian is supposed to be pretty much the capo, like he's the leader of the Irish mafia. Once again, we didn't get any of the mafia stuff because we were so focused on the same plot line, same but different plot line. Like apparently like it was resolved in book 1, but it wasn't in reality. Like something else came along and then it affected this. But yeah, I didn't really like the heroine in book 2. So then, as you might have seen in the books that I was supposed to read in March, the whole Beneath the Mask series by Luna Mason. And here's how it literally went. I would read one book like this, and then I would read a book from this series. And then I went to book 2 on this series, and then I would read another book. Eventually, because there's 6-7 books in the series, so I've only read 2. I decided to not continue reading the Dark Heart series for right now. I'll come back to it later on, which you can see these are the ones I have left to read, just because I really wanted to focus on this. And I didn't the thing was, I didn't love the series either how I thought I was. So it's like in my head I thought I was really gonna read 2 amazing mafia series, and it didn't amount to that. Okay, so let's talk about book 1. Book 1 started really amazing to the point that I was even tabbing it. It was included, I think, in my night routine, like my evening routine. I posted it on my YouTube channel, and even in that specific video you saw me reading this, and I was saying how I was really loving it. It literally disappointed me, but it wasn't. I feel like a lot of people describe this like a Wattpad romance, and I 100% agree. 3 stars, and this is what I wrote. I put, this was going really good at first, but then it honestly just felt like it was a lot of smut. That's all they were technically together for. Like I never felt like they got to really know each other other than the smut. And then I think there was a couple moments where it literally skipped like 2 weeks and then a month later, and at the end of the day she ruined it for me. Because here's the thing, this whole series has the same trope. Like it's all the same trope, and I don't really think this is like huge spoiler, because if someone would have told me this, then I probably would have read it. It's literally like they get together, a bunch of smut, and it's always like a pregnancy. And the reason I hate pregnancy trope, but the reason I don't necessarily dislike these books because of that, is because the pregnancy always was like towards the end, where like the book was over, if that makes sense. And I don't mind that as much. I just hate when the book is really heavy on the, oh, like pregnancy trope, like you get together because she's pregnant, and it's not that. Heroine in here felt very weak, because like she discovers who he is, like he leaves her because she gets hurt, whatever, I understand that. But then this girl, like she was just like, oh my god, he left me, like I cannot live without him, my whole life is about this man. And my thing is like, girlfriend, you're pregnant, get up. Like I just could not fathom such a weak character. And then I read book 2. It pretty much follows the same friend group, if that makes sense. And this is Grayson. So Grayson, new enforcer of the mafia, I guess, because that's another thing, mafia but not really. This series, I will say, it's giving very much power, the show. Point is, in this one he was enforcer, he was trying to leave the mafia, and he did. So then he kind of becomes the enforcer, and he's best friends with our guy from book 1. This book, once again, I feel like nothing was happening in this book other than smut. Now this one is, I wouldn't say like enemies to lovers. It's definitely like they're attracted to each other from the very first minute they saw each other, but they try to fight it. It was very repetitive. It kept, because he was hurt a long time ago by a previous woman, so he just, he's just an F-boy. But with her, it's obviously different. And it always kept going in the same circle. I want to be with you, like I love you. Like it was just a bunch of reassurance all the time. And it was just like, okay, this is too repetitive. Describe it. It's like she had nothing going for her. Like apparently she was a makeup artist, but she, at one point, that completely disappeared. It just wasn't my favorite. Honestly, I will say these 2 books, because the heroines are also best friends to each other in these 2 books, they literally talk in a way that they annoy me. They're like always drinking, always partying. Didn't love that necessarily. And it's the same thing in this one. She gets pregnant at the end of the book. Not even in the epilogue. If it was the epilogue, I wouldn't have a problem with it. Even now, I didn't have a huge problem with it, but it was the same thing over and over again. And it's like, you know, the book is going there for the simple fact that they never clarify if they're using protection. Now we went on to book 3, which this one is absolutely my favorite. I really enjoyed it. I was gonna give it 5 stars. It is really long. This book, it's 600 pages. Now it's exactly 4 stars. Now the reason for that is that I really like Luca and Rosa. This is kidnaps her. She's the daughter of his enemy, and it's so sweet because she's battling an addiction to alcohol and drugs, and this is when he like kidnaps her, so immediately he's like taking care of her. But it's like, you kidnapped her, you know, like it doesn't make sense. But I really like the sweetness of it from the very beginning. But I feel like it got dragged on a lot and it was too long. This guy's supposed to be the capo now. This is the thing, this is supposed to be a mafia series, but it doesn't feel like a mafia series. It feels like, I'm sorry, an amateur wrote it. Don't get me wrong, the writing is okay, but the reason I'm saying amateur is because they don't refer here to the mafia as like, oh, it's the Greek mafia, oh, it's the Italian mafia. They automatically just say, oh, we're the leaders of the biggest mafia in New York City. This guy, book 1, this is his foster brother, so they're brothers, right? This is just like his friend. He decides to leave the mafia, he becomes the enforcer. This guy is the capo, right? There's no mafia in here. What? On top of that, by the end of the book, he gives up the mafia to this guy, book 4. I'm sorry, how can you just leave the mafia? Explain that to me. Explain to me how there's no actual mafia, because you just say mafia, but there's not like an organization. But I really did enjoy this because you could tell he really cares for her from the very beginning. Obviously he kidnapped her, but he's over here helping her battle her addiction. They obviously like become kind of in love-ish, but something happens where suddenly she is getting an arranged marriage to someone else, because I think he lets her go. And then he is getting an arranged marriage with someone else, but they're sneaking around because they truly love each other. And that part I really love, because even though they got separated, they would find a way to be together, and I really liked it. It just got dragged out too long. It didn't need to be freaking 300 pages of them sneaking around. It could have easily been 100 pages, even less than that. My favorite, and probably the only one I would officially like actually recommend. Unfortunately, this one was a no. I ended up giving this 2.7. Wow, I didn't realize how low I gave it. But this started off really like just simply fine, nothing huge. He is now the new capo, and he's getting pretty much kind of investigated by the FBI, and the girl, the daughter of the chief commissioner, is the one that's trying to track him and get him down, if that makes sense. So I got bored at 200 pages. It was really boring. At 300 pages, I started skimming, and that's how you know immediately like that something is not vibing with me. It's just so much smut that it actually, once again, it just felt like you guys are not together for the right reasons. Like you're just there for the pure physical attraction. I hate when authors throw in love so quickly when we never got to see them falling in love other than them literally having smut together. When did this happen? Because I'm seeing what you're apparently living, but you guys are just in the smut. It just, no. He was like, you're gonna marry me, like you're gonna, you know, there's no one like you. And she literally was like, you need to get on a knee and ask me. You're refusing to get on your knee for her? What? That was kind of like, no. Pills to get pregnant. And she was like, did you get rid of my pills? And he was like, yeah, you have anything to say about it? And she was suddenly okay with it. She was like, no, we can have kids. What? At this point, I just pretty much finished it, and I was just like, this author throws on in every single book the same tropes. Like everything is the same. I like pregnancy, smut, like at the very end, marriage. It's like boring and repetitive. I would recommend this one. As I mentioned, Devoted was really good. if it just wasn't as long. My subscribers, I think she subscribed, was wondering about Pretty Rings and Broken Things by Kat Singleton. Now, I read Black Ties and White Lies and I love it. It's one of my favorite books of all time. This one, however, was really disappointed, and it sucks because I was excited because it's marriage of convenience, arranged marriage kind of. It felt so flat to me, and that's the reason why I'm upset. So our heroine in here, her dad owns a bunch of like hotels, and she's just kind of the face, like she's a socialite, and she ends up like sleeping with this guy that worked for her dad, and he records it, so he's kind of blackmailing her. So her dad, what does he do? He calls up our heroine here, and he's just like, I'll offer you this. They're kind of rival families, if you will, and they're supposed to be like enemies to lovers apparently. I never saw that. I also don't believe in their love story just because I feel like nothing happened. Like, I wanted banter. I wanted like, oh my gosh, like I was forced to marry you. I wanted some type of confrontation, like something that would be like, oh, they kind of have chemistry, and then obviously it would build from that. He was just from the very beginning very attentive with her. Also, listen, stay-at-home moms, they're stay-at-home girlfriends. I love that. I love that for anyone who has that type of lifestyle. But this girl literally had nothing going for her. And specifically in books, no offense, but I would rather not read about stay-at-home moms or stay-at-home girlfriends, just because it doesn't really give anything to the character that I could be like, oh, what is she doing? You get me? It just, like, all she did was go to the gym with her now husband. And I wanted more. I wanted to feel something, and I didn't. I'm gonna make this quick because I read this at the very beginning of the month and I didn't even finish it. I ended up kind of DNFing it, but I don't know how much that counts because it's only 180 pages. No, 170 pages, and I read I think up to like 130. I read a decent amount of it. My only reason with this is from Kay Webster, and it's from the Taboo Treats series that she has, which I read majority of them and I really enjoyed them and loved them. However, this one kind of pissed me off because all the other ones I read on my phone, and then I ended up buying them recently because I loved them. This one I had not read for some reason. So it's supposed to be like a coach athlete situation, right? My issue with this was the heroine in here. I hate reading about a heroine, which this is age gap, it's forbidden, taboo, right? I hate reading when the heroine has already so many experiences with the same storyline. This girl straight up admitted to the coach, I slept with my dad's best friend. I slept with my old therapist. I was just like, that's icky. And I just cannot do it anymore. She has a problem. She definitely has a problem. And yeah, so no. You guys, I made a video recently on my channel of books I love that were really good. I have not talked about yet. They deserve the hype. This was one of them in the video, so I don't want to talk about it too much, but so go watch that video. But this was truly amazing. I gave it 5 stars because it was worthy. It was perfect. It's the perfect taboo, it's the perfect forbidden, it's amazing. So this is adoptive step siblings. So we have our heroine who gets adopted into this like rich family when she's 7 years old, 6 years old. A year later, now the hero in this book gets adopted. So he gets adopted a year after her, and he's a year older than her. He's 8. From the very beginning, they just kind of become best friends. Like, you could see they're gravitated to each other. Like, they would, like, it was so innocent. Like, they would sleep in the same bed when they would have nightmares, whatever it was. By the way, he's a selective mute. And by the way, this is dark. She's finally 18. Things are completely different. Like, they're starting to like do stuff, but she's truly like trying to fight it, saying like, you know what, like, this is wrong. And at this point, he's just like, I kind of don't care if it's wrong. Like, I really, like, you know, you're mine. You've been mine since we were kids. We just didn't know it yet. Or Unhinged Kane, which is book 1. I wish I wouldn't have read this book. I feel like Unhinged Kane, it's in my reading dark romance reading vlog, so go watch it. And that one, I did say it is not a romance. I wouldn't necessarily say like you guys need to read this books. It is what it is. Like, it's not a romance. This one I ended up giving it 3 stars. I said 3.7. I said book 1 is better, but this one was just really rushed because this guy is a psychopath, and I mean like a truly psychopath. Like there's nothing redeemable or cute about him. Like he's just straight up effed up. I really dislike the girl in this book. Like the girl had nothing for her, and I hate when authors make a character quirky. I hate it so much. This girl would go on rambles about things she just knew. Like you could ask her, how are you? And she'll be like, the sky is blue because of this and that, and then the third. And then once again, the guy, and it was funny because the guy then would sometimes be like, oh well, I'm a psychopath. And then she would be like, what? Like this, he's so weird. But then she'll be like, bees are this and that. And she was just not cute. I don't like quirkiness. I don't like that. I read Fiona Cole, Blame It on the Champagne. Give this 3.7. It was good. It was good, but I wanted more. I feel like I didn't fall in love with the characters. Technically from rival families. They're a specific like shipping company. She pretty much gets a fake ID, whatever, which I don't think that's how you could do that. I think, you know, it doesn't work that way, especially if you're getting paid. Like they would know who you have to be. So she gets hired at this company because her dad refuses to let her work at the company, and she's just like, I need to work. Like I don't just want to be a socialite. I don't just want to get an arranged marriage, which she is getting. She's getting an arranged marriage with someone that's terrible. So she applies to this company not knowing who the guy is or anything. The guy doesn't even know who she is, which she's the daughter of his enemy pretty much. And they hit it off because they saw each other at a restaurant, but they never spoke. And then they bump into each other at the office after her interview because he couldn't do her interview, and they hit it off, and immediately they start flirting. Someone from the office is like, oh, have a good day, whatever. He's just like, did you plan this? Like, are you trying to like just sleep your way up to the company? Did you know who I was? And immediately she's offended because there had been a bunch of people doing that to him. She's like, I don't even know who you are. She gets hired. She's under a fake name, so he doesn't know. At one point, the dad is really horrible to her. Her fiance is really horrible to her. And he kind of gets involved, and he's like, what happened to you? Like, who hit you? And she's drunk, and she just tells him everything. And suddenly he gets this idea, and he's just like, marry me. So this is a marriage of convenience, if you will. And he's like, if you get married to me, like I'll protect you from your dad. Like you won't have this arranged marriage with this other guy. Like get this, like this is the offer for you. So they go along with it. Did enjoy it. I just didn't love them. Favor by Suzanne Wright. Gave this 3.9 stars because I was really close to 4 stars. There's nothing wrong with it. I just needed more from the hero and his point of view. He was so dry, like he was so quiet, like we could never tell his intentions. And usually when I read a marriage of convenience, it always comes down to like, I saw you a long time ago and I wanted to make you mine, and for some reason I made it this way to get to you. This one was not like that. How she's been working for him for a really long time, and I think there's attraction to each other, but he's just so quiet. Like he doesn't have anything going for him. Then he's always working. He doesn't give any emotions, and it pissed me off because it's like, if I don't get any emotions from you and we don't have your point of view, then you're kind of irrelevant to me. Like, it's a quick marriage because he needs to get his inheritance, and she plays along with it because he helped her a long time ago. Along the way, like his family keeps trying to break them up because they're like, this is fake, you're just trying to do this for the inheritance. It was the same thing over and over. Here's the thing, this book is 327 pages. First of all, I want you to look at this font. It was too long. The book was too long because nothing was happening. She would get like frustrated. She would like be like, oh, like I want to go see my family, but they started questioning me why we weren't always together. So he starts going to her, you know, see her family. Sometimes she'll be like, oh, like I'm bored, like I want to go to the zoo, but there's no one to go with me. So then he started like kind of taking her out to dates, right? Here's the thing, through all of that, he never gives any emotion. I guess in his own way, we're seeing it through actions where he's like showing her he cares for her, but I just need more than your grunts or your growls. This had the potential to be so good. I love like those romances where it's like marriage of convenience, arranged marriage, like we're not supposed to be together but we got pushed together, and you know, you go from like these hateful comments or these snarky comments to kind of like getting closer, and then it's like bam, like actually I love you. And then we have Leave Me Broken. So I read this and I gave it 2.5. If you guys know, I read book 1 I think in January, if I'm correct, and that one I really enjoyed. However, this one was just, no, it was so messy and not in a good way. When it's age gap, and the girl literally acts so immature, because the reason why an older guy would look at you, if it's not in a weird way, it's because you're somewhat mature. Like, there's something about you, right? This girl acts like her exact age, to the point that I would be like, why are you with her? Like, why are you putting up with her? Like, what? Scene in here where he shares her, right? You're so possessive, and suddenly you're like, wait, I kind of want to see you with someone else because I know I'm gonna hate it, but I still need to know how much I'm gonna hate it. It's out of character. Why do you do that? Why do authors do that? Forbidden. Like, you're supposed to be hiding this because you're not supposed to be together because of coach athlete. You guys are literally kissing, touching, doing your stuff in front of everyone, and everyone in this book literally knows. Like, they keep getting interrupted by parents, by other athletes, by other coaches. No one ever says anything. I generally think this girl needs therapy, because she went from doing something very harmful to herself, which I said, check your trigger warnings, and from there on he was kind of helping her, but not really, because there's a kink in here, which I generally think you're not supposed to do in this book, just because it just sounds like you guys are toxic and you're not. You need therapy. Like, go get therapy. And her best friend finds out what they're doing, and she blows up and she's like, you're effed up, for helping her. In my head I was just like, for that reason, I do have book 3. I am gonna read it because I just want to be over with the story, but this was a huge no. Guys, that is literally it. I had like 2 favorites obviously, but yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time.